Meh. Hey everybody, I'm Cantonese Cat. Hey everyone, Cantonese Cat here. You're looking at the monthly chart of CleanSpark, ticker symbol CLSK. This is a Bollinger Band that is being shown here. Now remember what I said about the Bollinger Band and gravity. When price gets a little bit too far above the upper Bollinger Band, even though it's an uptrend, there tends to be a little bit of gravity here where the Bollinger Band tends to want to absorb price back inside of it, or at least have it touch the upper Bollinger Band. So far, it's only been 2 days out of the month, and the traders already saw this, and they decided to bring it back to gravity. There's a lot of selling pressure over here. You can blame that on the news, you can blame it on dilution, you can blame it on a lot of things, but just based on looking at technical, you're already at increased risk for a pullback anyway. At a price of 25 is probably not a very good price to buy it just because it's way far and way outside the upper Bollinger Band. You know that gravity force is going to exist. It doesn't mean that it's not going to go much higher. It's probably going to go much higher because the Bollinger Band is still expanding, allowing the price to go up even higher over time. But it did go a little bit too far ahead of itself. It closed not at the top right here at the wick, but still closed a little bit too far away from the upper Bollinger Band. And guess what? Price pulled back down into gravity. It's only been 2 trading days so far, and it's touching the upper Bollinger Band right now. It's actually inside of the Bollinger Band because the top Bollinger Band is 17.32, and so far the price right now is 16.78. Guess what this looks like? This looks like Bitcoin. Bitcoin's doing the exact same thing, except that Bitcoin actually is not inside the upper Bollinger Band, but you can see that price, the whole candle right here is basically like outside upper Bollinger Band. This whole candle right here so far is also outside the upper Bollinger Band, even though it did a little bit wick, it kind of touched the upper Bollinger Band here a little bit, but this whole candle is still really outside the upper Bollinger Band. So far it's still very, very impulsive price action here for Bitcoin, even though you go for a little bit sideways. Now, can price go down a little bit further? Sure. I mean, it can go all the way down to the upper, 50,000s, and this could still be a very, very nice bullish continuation. But whenever you have something like this, I would not be surprised at all to see price going back down and touch, at least form a wick down to touch the upper Bollinger Band before going up higher. As time goes on, I think upper Bollinger Band continue to expand and continue to allow price to go up higher, but there's just a little bit of physics, a little bit of restriction here. You can see maybe not this past cycle, but the cycle before that, you see a lot of these different examples where price just kind of closed a little bit way far above at the beginning of the bull market, and you end up having to go sideways for a couple months, get back inside the upper Bollinger Band before going up higher. Same thing here, it got way outside the Bollinger Band, it went sideways for a month, went higher, went sideways for another month, went higher. So it's not entirely surprising to see something like this. And this doesn't necessarily mean that you should be discouraged that it's going to go down further. It could, but even if it does, the overall monthly trend is still positive. The CleanSpark chart look exactly the same, so I would not be worried about the negative 30% move all the way from up top here down here, because the trend is still very positive. I think a lot of people forgot that just 3 months ago the price was all the way down like $6.50. And right now it's 16, 17 bucks. It's inside the upper Bollinger Band. So right now you're really decompressing the risk down here. The higher it goes, the further away from the upper Bollinger Band goes, the higher the risk there is. So right now you have some decompression of risk right here. So I've been holding this whole time. I didn't decide to try to sell this move, try to buy back down here. I just been holding. Because that's just my style. I don't like to overtrade. I see a trend, I just want to ride the trend for the majority part of it. But right now, price is de-risked because it's touched upper Bollinger Band now. Can it go down further? Potentially. But this is a pretty good area. I mean, you see a pretty big volume shelf over here. There's a lot of stock that's being traded here right around the level where we're closing today at. So this level right here could potentially form a pretty decent support here because we did break out, and right now we kind of do a little bit of a back test over here at this volume shelf, which is actually not a bad thing. Like down here you had a breakout of this volume shelves down here, and you had a back test. If found support, bounced up from one volume shelf to another volume shelf, broke through this big volume shelf right up here, and then back tested it so far as finding support on the second day of the month. Can it go down further? Absolutely. There's still a lot of volume shelf support down here that can potentially wick down or just go down to fill. But so far, this is still a higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low type situation. I'll show you that a little bit more clearly on the weekly chart. If you just look at the banker fund, now just to kind of make it clear here, this is a trend oscillator to tell you the banker fund flow in terms of what big money is doing, whether or not it is inflow or outflow. This doesn't really tell you an absolute value, it's just kind of pointing you to the direction here. First of all, the trend is still positive in terms of inflow. Inflow is still much greater than outflow. This candle here may not have a whole lot of weight because you only really had 2 trading days so far in April and without a whole lot of volume. But the trend oscillator is pointing that the inflow is still positive. So it means that the institutions are still in. There's not really any significant outflow, to be honest, over the last couple of days to really change the monthly trend much at all. As can be seen over here, it's just been crazy increased buying volume all the way up here to March. And right now, I think things just have to kind of cool down a little bit, which is not entirely surprising. If you pull up the Ichimoku cloud, you can see one thing that's very striking. First of all, you remember I was talking about the 2 lines over here on the Ichimoku cloud analysis. You have the red line here, which in this case is the Tenkan. You have the blue line right here, which in this case is the Kijun. The Tenkan is the leading line, the Kijun is the lagging line. So when the leading crosses over the lagging, you have a bullish crossover over here. This bullish cross happened about 2 months ago with this big giant green candle that goes all the way up here. It even penetrates into the cloud here a little bit, leaving a little long wick here behind. The next month, what did the price decide to do? It decided to try to fill a little bit of that wick right here with a candle. You end up closing inside the Ichimoku cloud up here. And so far, the price action over the last 2 days have pushed the price back outside from inside the cloud back to outside the cloud. One potential reason is this. Price generally like to ride along with the Tenkan during the bull market up. Sometimes when price just gets a little bit too far outside the Tenkan, it might have to go sideways a little bit for the Tenkan to come and catch up to kind of touch it before going up. To illustrate that, I'm going to go back here to the chart of Bitcoin. As you can see, even during that bull market from last cycle, price never really got too far away from the Tenkan. And the cycle before that, when price got way above the Tenkan line right here, it went sideways and it went back and back tested the Tenkan, didn't it? Price went a little bit too far above the Tenkan, back tested it over here. Price went a little bit too far above the Tenkan, went sideways and back tested over here. Price went way above the Tenkan, back tested over here. So to look at that, you also have a little bit of elevated risk as price gets a little bit too far from the Tenkan. Right now, the Tenkan line is about 14, and the Kijun right now is 13.2. So these are still potential risk level. You can still potentially imagine the price go down here a little bit. Maybe not this month, but potentially next month. There's also a potential for Tenkan and Kijun to raise a little bit over here. But there's also a potential where April could end up being just sideways, or it doesn't have to. So far, there's only 2 days out of the whole month. But it really got de-risked all the way from 25 up here, now all the way back down to less than 17. And 17 is not that far from 14, whereas 25 is way far ahead from 14. So that's one way to sort of risk assess here. Now, when I saw that price de-risk down here, when I saw that price ended up closing right around this big volume shelf over here, it was good enough for me to start buying just a little bit more shares for CleanSpark. Could it go down further? Absolutely. That's always a possibility. Again, I think monthly Tenkan is going to serve as pretty decent support. If not, then right below it is going to be the Kijun. And I do think that we have de-risked, significantly. Can it further de-risk down here before bouncing up further? There's always a possibility, right? But I just wanted to show you the thinking behind how much risk we're at right now. And I think right now, the risk has just gotten a lot lower. Now, in addition to looking at the monthly, I also like to have you look at the weekly. And I think if you look at the weekly, it's kind of silly to be bearish long-term on CleanSpark. The reason why I say that is because it's been doing nothing but making higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, maybe a little bit of equal low here, higher high, higher low, higher high. So when it keeps doing that, what does it end up being? It ends up being a bull trend. And how can you tell a bull trend, in addition to just using the 20-month moving averages pointing way up? You can also look at the weekly moving averages too. And you can see that 20 is pointing way up, 50 and 100. 20 over 50 over 100. This is a bull trend because all three of these are stacking at the right way with 20 over 50 over 100, and they're also pointing up. All three moving averages are pointing up. This is a very powerful bull trend that didn't really start to happen. It really started happening maybe around May or so, but the full 20 over 50 over 100 really started back in January. There is also a little bit of elevated risk here that you can see because price generally gets attracted to the 20 moving average a lot during bull cycles and also during bear cycles. And when you look at the 28-week moving average is pointing way up, so that means that it's going to serve as a pretty powerful support. The problem is right now the 20-week moving average is at 13, so it's still a little bit far from the current price. So that's kind of a little bit of your risk level. I can theoretically, that's what I was saying, like I can go down all the way to 13, 14. I wouldn't even blink an eye. Does it have to do that? No. But once you get down there, there's really a bunch of support that's probably going to end up pushing the price up higher if it gets there, right? And if it gets there, again, it's not the end of the world because all it's doing is basically this is a breakout of this level right over here, and you would just be going back for a back test, right? So it's not the end of the world if it goes that far down. If it does, I think it's time maybe for me to buy even more. But there's no guarantee because there's a big area right here with the volume shelf. But if it needs it, it has a quickly rising 20-week moving average that's going to serve as support and it's going to put price a lot higher over time. Time is your best friend here with a bull trend. Because I'm just seeing this bull trend just got started. I'm not seeing any sign for concern here. Now, the other thing to look at is the Ichimoku cloud. If you look at the Ichimoku cloud, all it's doing right now is over the last 5 weeks is back tested the weekly Tenkan line here 3 times. And right now we're getting a little bit to the weekly Tenkan, which is also in conjunction with this volume shelf over here. This is part of the reason why I bought a little bit more shares today, because I'm starting to find a little bit more of a support here. I wasn't going to buy up here, but down here I started to see a little bit more of attractive risk reward ratio. Down here, this is the Kijun, which is around the weekly is around 14.2 or 14.1, which is still a pretty decent support level. There are a few really decent support levels down underneath, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And because of that, and because the trend is still very much up, I'm not really that worried about the day-to-day fluctuations or the week-to-week fluctuations. I'm still seeing a very, very nice bull trend here. If you imagine what price has done over the last 2 months, it's going to be very, very painful for a lot of people who got really sucked into CleanSpark here when it went parabolic from here to here, and they're chasing and end up doing nothing. Matter of fact, it can even, if you believe in the diamond top thing, it kind of looks a little bit like a diamond top. I can potentially see it kind of go down a little bit back here, back test it going up higher. Although there's no guarantee that it's going to happen. That's the thing. You can look at risk level, but there's always a little bit of a risk. It's like, okay, so you have about $2 or $3 price differences over here between where it's at and between where it could go. Is it going to go there? I don't know. Is it going to go down further? Potentially, but you got a lot of support over here. So what are you going to do? Like, you sell out of it and try to buy down lower, or are you just going to hold through and buy down here more? Or because you see this risk level here, you're just going to sell out, you don't want to be in it, even though it could potentially already find support right around here and bounce a lot higher. You just don't know what's going to happen, right? You don't know. It's all about risk assessment. It's all about risk-reward ratio. Right now, the way I'm looking at it is I think that, to me, once price breaks inside the Ichimoku cloud, I think there's really not much resistance right above here. I really think I can get to the top of the cloud, even potentially beyond. I'm looking at the reward. I'm looking down here at the risk. Risk seems to be a lot less compared to potential reward moving over the next 6 to 12 months, doesn't it? That's just one cat's view. Another thing to look at is if you just look at the RSI, it's not really a whole lot of sign for exhaustion. I don't see any bearish divergence here at all. If anything, just this little down move right here already corrected RSI down all the way back here from like almost 70 down all the way to like 60 just within a week. Not even within a week, just within 2 days. So I see a little bit of a reset here, but I'm not seeing any clear bearish divergence on the monthly. I think monthly is still going to be a pretty strong bull trend. Now, weekly is a little bit of a different story. Weekly, from here to here, you can see a very clear bearish divergence as price went up. You actually have a loss of RSI here, which means that this weekly trend here has been showing a little bit of exhaustion as it's making another peak over here. And RSI is really looking pretty exhausted over here. Now, that's a good thing. That's a bad thing that there was a bearish divergence down here, but it's already starting to work out here because you're already seeing price kind of already starting rolling over, and RSI really starting to roll over here a lot. What I'm seeing more, instead of seeing the bullish divergence, instead of seeing the bearish divergence from here to here, where price is just going up and RSI is just going down, I think this is starting to work out, and this is really starting to push price down. It did build some bearish momentum here and ended up having a lot of cool down here, which is what you're seeing. But the thing is, as it does that, you'll also end up developing some hidden bullish divergence. As base price down went up just a little bit, you can see that RSI has significantly cooled down. So a lot of cool down on RSI has already happened. This is building a lot of bullish, hidden bullish divergence over here. And because of that, I think that there is a lot of bullish momentum here that's being built up. Now, it doesn't mean that price is just going to shoot up from here, right? I mean, it can continue to reset. It doesn't mean that you're just going to go up from here. There's no guarantee of that. All these bullish divergence and bearish divergence are just basically telling you that there might be a little bit of a shift in momentum. If the primary trend is up and you see a little bit of bearish divergence like you see over here, that means that price could go down a little bit. If you see that the trend is still up and you have a little bit of a hidden bullish divergence, it could end up actually being a little bit more powerful and push price up a little bit higher. I guess what I'm trying to say is that if primary trend is bull and you get a bullish divergence, I think it's a great thing. But again, there's no guarantee that price is just going to go up from here. There's always a potential for price to go down here. And I just show you some of the risk levels to watch out for. On the weekly, you can look at the Ichimoku cloud. It's going to be around 16.2 at the weekly Tenkan. It's around 14 for the weekly Kijin. Over here, the volume shelf that you're finding support here, maybe around 17. The bottom of the shelf right here, maybe 16. A little bit further down, which is still got a pretty, nice shelf down here, maybe a little bit closer, like 15 and a half, somewhere around there. And then below that, you're really talking about a little bit of emptiness over here. Although you do have a lot of technical support here, you do talk a little bit like emptiness here, all the way until maybe like 13 and a half or so. So this is still a pretty, significant risk level. If you go on the monthly too, you're also going to see the couple of levels down here very important. Again, 14, 13.2. There are some pretty, decent volume shelves down here too. We'll see what happens. I don't think anybody really knows for sure in terms of the short-term price action. but I am still encouraged by what I'm seeing in the longer term. I am okay with it going down further to hit 13, 14. I would just end up buying more there. And if it doesn't end up doing that, I still have my position. I still see that this overall longer term trend is looking like it's going to go higher because monthly still hasn't been exhausted. Matter of fact, the monthly RSI for a Bitcoin miner, this is nothing. Like, it's not even 70. Like, this is nothing for a Bitcoin miner. I suspect things might still need to get heat up a little bit for things to really start to keep going. But so far, I still like what I'm seeing so far. Now, you're still going to hear a little bit more about like dilution. Is dilution going to happen now? Are they selling? Is there going to be a lot of selling pressure? I don't think so. I think dilution is just basically a plan. It's telling you that there is a plan to potentially dilute, but they don't always have to sell. As a matter of fact, the price is lower. They may not want to do that. A lot of people that are selling now are actually already way behind the news already. A lot of people that are selling up here in 25, they probably already knew, hey, something up. It's way about the monthly Tenkan. Is way about the upper Bollinger Band. I think there might be some news that's going to come, and you're going to end up having some pretty significant pullback here. So again, I don't know how much of it is like self-fulfilling prophecy, but traders are gonna, like, really, really good traders are gonna get ahead of trend when they see something they're gonna pull out, because news always comes out later. And when the news comes out, when you have dilution, a lot of times is already kind of priced in. So I'm not necessarily expecting that it has to go down to 13, 14, although I would not be a bit surprised if it does. And even if it does, this is still a very, very powerful bull trend. I'm Cantonese Cat. I think that's all I have to say about CleanSpark today. Thank you for listening. Have a good one. Bye.